I accidentally stepped on a maggot and killed it. But the system told me I crushed a dragon. I swatted this cockroach to death casually, and unexpectedly got the god-tier skill, Immortal Body. Even the system suspected if I had another system. I transmigrated to a parallel world where people can cultivate. But not only was I mediocre in talent, the system I got was also a total idiot. I was taking a nap that day. Suddenly, the system's voice rang out. Detected King Rank Star Beast, Immortal Cockroach. Those who can't run away, please take a quick look, host. I was shocked by this sudden bad news, but I was totally speechless when I saw it clearly. What are you barking about again? It's just a cockroach. A bit bigger. A bit uglier, but can it be bigger than my shoe sole? I stepped on it, and its guts burst right away. Detected host killing a beast king by leaping ranks. Obtained divine talent, Immortal Body. Received damage will recover rapidly. Shut up. You're talking nonsense, system. I was just about to lose my temper. A powerful surge of energy suddenly rushed into my body. I clenched my fists tightly and actually felt the existence of true essence. In this world, you must have true essence to cultivate. No way, dude. You're for real. But on second thought, aren't I just tougher than ordinary people now? Better lie low and grow stronger first. My job was a librarian security guard, in charge of managing some martial arts secret manuals. In the days that followed, I immersed myself in the ocean of knowledge every day. Even though I trained extremely hard, my talent was really terrible. I kept practicing for a whole month, but still failed to master a single manual, and these were all beginner-level ones for crying out loud. Just as I was about to go out for a smoke, a melodious voice rang out. Detected Beast Emperor's aura. Please flee for your life immediately, host, or you'll lose your life. Looking at the little purple spider in front of me, I couldn't help but rant. You're telling me this is the Beast Emperor that even grandmasters can't afford to provoke. Do you believe that, or do you believe I'm Emperor Qin Shi Huang? Suddenly a light screen appeared in front of my eyes. Race Purple Soul Demon Spider. Rank, Emperor level. Talent, innate spiritual wisdom. Hobby, studying human martial arts. Holy crap, it really is Emperor level. Watching that, I didn't run away at all. Instead, I stood there observing it. The system's anxious voice rang out again. Damn it, you're really asking for death, you bastard. I must be blind to have you as my host. I swung my black fly swatter down right away. The mighty Beast Emperor stopped moving instantly. Say something, pal. The system's voice trembled. Host actually killed an Emperor rank star beast by leaping ranks. Reward. Heaven-defying insight plus 20 years of cultivation. Feeling the surging power in my body. Oh no, I'm about to break through. I can't attract any attention.
I quickly found a hidden place.
Tremendous energy burst out of my body. I reached the innate realm, I laughed out loud. In the whole Zhanghai city, it was said there were only 3 innate realm masters. Finally, I had the ability to protect myself. Suddenly, it hit me. I seemed to have also obtained something called heaven-defying insight just now. All the martial arts manuals I'd read before popped into my mind instantly. Clear Wind Swordsmanship mastered. 7-star step mastered. This heaven-defying insight was actually more like a simulation space. After practicing the skills I'd read inside it, I could master them right away. A bold idea popped into my head. Could I try creating my own martial art? With that thought, I hurried back to the library and only picked swordsmanship manuals to read. I remembered every word I read right away. In just a few days, I mastered more than a dozen swordsmanship skills to perfection. After practicing them tens of thousands of times, I finally fused them into a powerful innate sword technique. I went to the outskirts with a thought. The sword intent hummed. The sword energy in my hand turned into a 10-meter-long blade of light. I swung it violently. The blade of light tore through the air and sliced a mountain peak in half in an instant. I'll name this move. One sword opens the heavenly gate. Before I could show off, I suddenly felt several auras rushing towards me at high speed. No, I have to lie low first. I cast 7-star step right away and vanished from the spot in an instant. In the days that followed, I still spent all my time in the library. I couldn't help it, I was too eager to improve. But the fact that I casually sliced a mountain peak in half actually made it to the trending list. The whole Zhanghai city was talking about it, wondering who this powerful swordsman was. I thought I could lie low in the library for a while, but the appearance of a young girl brought me a new surprise. Detected your target's information. Please kneel down and kowtow to become her disciple immediately. Host. I looked at the girl in front of me who was just turning 18, totally dumbfounded. I thought the female emperor shouldn't look like this. Shouldn't she be a cold and gorgeous mature lady? While I was confused, a light screen appeared. Name, Liu Ruyan. Age, 518. Cultivation, Peak Emperor Realm. Holy shit, this is for real. Without hesitation, I got ready to strike up a conversation. After chatting for a bit, I found out the girl really was called Liu Ruyan, but she was only 18 years old. A light bulb went off in my head. I think I got it. This system shows me the timeline 500 years in the future. Whether it's the cockroach or the spider, they all become badass 500 years later. Awesome. I have to watch my tone when talking to you from now on, pal. But right now, Liu Ruyan was just a measly acquired realm rookie. Compared to her, I was older and way stronger. If I went up to ask to be her disciple, I'd definitely be taken for a creep with ulterior motives. But after all, the reward for befriending a strong person was something I couldn't bear to miss. So in the following days, I kept observing her secretly, waiting for a chance to kneel down and kowtow to her. After a few days, I found out that Liu Ruyan was actually a sword cultivator, and she was a disciple of the Martial Arts Academy Dean, widely recognized as the #1 genius, until I followed her to the place where I sliced the mountain peak in half with one sword. Could it be that this girl was actually my fangirl? Suddenly, a brilliant idea struck me. Who said I had to follow the system's orders? The system told me to run, but I killed the target instead, and still got the reward anyway, even though I couldn't kill Liu Ruyan too. What if I made her become my disciple instead? That would be perfect. As Liu Ruyan was immersed in enlightenment, a hoarse old voice suddenly rang out beside her ear. "Young lady, you have great insight." Then I, wearing a black robe and a bamboo hat, appeared in front of her in the blink of an eye. Time to show off. The sword energy left by my previous strike was still howling even now. I waved my hand and muttered to myself, "The wind here is too noisy." In an instant, everything fell silent. Liu Ruyan was utterly shocked. The sword intent that even her master couldn't match was casually scattered by this old man. Could it be that you're that sword grandmaster?
Ding!
The system's voice rang out at the worst possible time. Detected, the female emperor is right in front of you. Opportunity knocks but once. Please kneel down and kowtow to become her disciple immediately. Host, shut up. Ahem. I see you're a promising talent. Would you like to become my disciple? Liu Ruyan trembled all over when she heard that. Did this great fortune really come out of nowhere? The master she'd been dreaming of wanted to take her as his disciple. Without a second thought, she kowtowed 3 loud bangs to me. The system seemed to be caught off guard. It lagged for a second before the notification chime went off. Whoa, the Empress actually knelt down to you. You're so awesome! Congratulations, host. You've obtained the Purple Star Divine Sword. You've obtained the Rank D Divine Skill, Heaven Severing Sword Drawing Technique. Plus 50 years of cultivation base. Hell yeah, I was so thrilled. I directly taught Liu Ruyan the sword opening to Heavenly Gate technique. Before leaving, I didn't forget to tell her to keep a low profile for her master. Never breathe a word about what happened today. Then I immediately found a quiet mountain valley. The rewards from the Empress were absolutely luxurious. The moment the Purple Star Divine Sword was drawn, heaven and earth shuddered. A crisp sword hum soared into the sky, streaked with purple starlight. It instantly attracted all the powerful warriors across Shanghai City. Next came absorbing the 50 years of cultivation base. A massive vortex formed from the surging spiritual energy. It madly poured into my body. My cultivation level reached the peak of the innate realm, just a step away from Grandmaster. Finally, I took out the Rank Earth Divine Skill I'd been looking forward to the most. The Heaven Severing Sword Drawing Technique. By this time, the valley was already completely surrounded. Among the crowd were the Dean of the Martial Arts Academy and the Chief of the New Armed Police, along with many other top fighters. But the raging sword intent inside the valley kept everyone from daring to take another step closer. In a daze, I saw a figure in white. The sound of the sword being drawn echoed like a dragon's roar. The sword left its sheath. Heaven and earth shattered. The sheer killing intent radiating from it made everyone outside the valley wet their pants. A rank earth martial art. It's terrifyingly powerful. This move, I'd practiced it countless times in the Enlightenment space. I didn't know how much time had passed. I let out a long breath of turbid air. I've mastered the Heaven Severing Sword Drawing Technique. Once again, I chose to keep my achievements and fame hidden. I yawned and slipped away quietly. As expected, this incident made the headlines again. That valley even got labeled as a Sword Dao Holy Land. The next day, I showed up at the library as usual. Before I become the strongest under heaven, I'm never going to leave this place. Just as I was about to check out the second floor of the library, the system's voice suddenly rang out. Detected a rank yellow blood fiend, extremely dangerous. Please flee immediately, host. Alternatively, please dispatch your disciple, the Empress, to eliminate it as soon as possible. Damn, this system's churning out quests like a sow. Rewards don't even matter to me. The main thing is, this mission is way too dangerous. Haha, better for this master to handle it personally. Safer that way. When I arrived at Central Lake, I realized things weren't as simple as they seemed. Dozens of heavily armed guards were stationed along the shore, and leading them were the only 3 innate realm warriors in Shanghai City. Could it be this monster has evolved ahead of schedule? Suddenly, a blood-red creature burst out of the water. It was actually a giant blood-sucking leech. The 3 innate powerhouses charged at it instantly. Among them was the Martial Arts Academy Dean, who actually managed to use a watered-down version of the sword-drawing technique he'd comprehended last night. Facing off against the Blood Leech 3 against 1, they were holding their own perfectly. With a shrill screech, poisonous blood splattered everywhere. All the police officers in the woods were poisoned and fell to their deaths. Even the Dean and the other 2 were seriously wounded. At that moment, a figure appeared above the lake. Sword opening to Heavenly Gate. That's my disciple for you. Liu Ruyan's full-powered strike slash a huge gash in the leech's body, but it also drained her completely of spiritual energy. Her longsword even shattered into pieces. As the leech charged toward her, she had no strength left to resist. I sighed. Looks like my identity as the sword god of Shanghai can't stay hidden anymore. Sword chi stretches for 30,000 miles. A single sword flash chills 19 provinces. Come to me, sword! A streak of purple light, accompanied by towering thunder, roared over. The almost tangible killing intent locked onto the red leech in an instant. Lu Ruyan's face lit up with joy. Master's making a move. The leech was pinned down by the violent sword chi, unable to move an inch. The purple-veined divine sword pierced straight through its body. Its blood-red body, along with the lake water, erupted in a violent explosion. In its final moments, its confused eyes seemed to be saying, "Boss, did I break some cosmic law?" The system's trembling voice sounded, "Host has actually killed a rank gold blood fiend. Reward, divine level cultivation method, blood god scripture. Plus 20 years of cultivation base." To avoid drawing attention, I ran straight to the outskirts of the city. 20 years of cultivation base, absorbed in one go. Since I was already at the peak of the innate realm, I broke through instantly, feeling the surging power within me. Truly, the might of a top powerhouse is terrifying, and this blood god scripture was right up my alley. I can condense my essence and blood to form blood god avatar. Wait a minute, does that mean I can work multiple jobs at the same time? My income would multiply several times over. The news of me killing the blood fiend quickly reached the higher-ups, but what they cared about most was that the 3 strongest fighters in Shanghai had almost been wiped out by a damn leech. They immediately sent an inspection team to look into the matter. After that incident, I continued to live in seclusion at the library, working as a full-time security guard. For me, this place is nothing short of a scripture library. As I integrated more and more Sword Dao secret manuals, sword opening to Heavenly Gate also became increasingly refined. It was already approaching the level of a Grandmaster tier martial art. My current strength, even if I put it up against fighters across the entire country, I'd definitely be one of the rare few. I'd been living a peaceful life these past few days, until the night I headed home. Holy crap, I actually ran into a ghost in my neighborhood. I lived in an old residential area on the edge of the city. When I climbed up to the 6th floor, a shrill ghostly laugh suddenly echoed through the silent corridor. A female ghost dressed in white, with her face hidden behind long hair, appeared under the light. The green glow from the emergency exit sign made the whole scene feel like something straight out of the underworld. Even the crew of Approaching Science would call this unscientific. Just as I was debating whether to fight or flee, a voice suddenly popped into my head. System notification. Detected a rank yellow star beast. 9-tailed fox, skilled in Qingqiu illusion arts. Please leave the area immediately, host. A 9-tailed fox? Just a carbon-based life form? Such petty tricks, how dare you show them off in front of me? I can tell at a glance you're not human. I kicked her hard and forced her to revert to her true form. Whoa, is that any way to be polite? The nine-tailed fox sat on the floor, staring at me in complete disbelief. She never expected me to attack without hesitation. At that moment, her information was fully scanned. Species, nine-tailed spirit fox. Cultivation base, early innate realm. Talent, Qingqiu illusion arts. I'll give you two choices. Either submit and serve me from now on, or become a fox fur coat in my wardrobe. The nine-tailed fox's face turned bright red with anger when she heard that. A warrior would rather die than be humiliated. Her aura flared up dramatically. She transformed into a huge snow-white fox in the blink of an eye. But before she could even make a move, I slapped her hard across the face, sending her crashing straight into the wall. When I pulled her out from the wall, her eyes were as clear and innocent as a college student's. From now on, you are my master. After we got home, she cleaned the house while explaining. She told me she liked to pretend to be a ghost to scare people unconscious and absorb a little of their yang energy. She just never expected that such a crummy neighborhood would actually have a top powerhouse living in it. Suddenly, I slapped my forehead. I just remembered something important. You piece of trash system, are you playing dead? Where's my reward? The system seemed to be stunned speechless. Dude, you turned a beast emperor-level monster into a maid? Congratulations, host. You've obtained the Purple Sun meditation art. Plus 20 years of cultivation base. These 20 years of cultivation base pushed me straight to the mid-grandmaster realm, and this Purple Sun meditation art turned out to be a cultivation manual specifically for spiritual power. It looks like becoming an all-rounded powerhouse is just around the corner. The next day, I headed to Broken Peak Mountain. Ready to test out my new moves? To my surprise, I ran into Liu Ruyan right there. Night had just fallen. She was all alone, looking so helpless, and her agitated mood kept registering in my spiritual sense. Something's off, really off. Like, seriously off. Her aura's all messed up. She's burning with inner turmoil. Oh no, my disciple's about to lose control of her cultivation. Can't let that happen. I don't want to mess up my rewards. Disciple. A voice sounded softly behind her. Liu Ruyan spun around abruptly. Tears started streaming down her face before she could hold them back. Something's definitely wrong here. I listened as she sniffled and explained. A swordmaster calling himself the Prairie Sword Saint was traveling around challenging others with his disciple. These two were total beasts, beating everyone in their path. And Liu Ruyan, as the top disciple of Zhanghai City, had to face off against the Sword Saint's disciple. She knew she didn't stand a chance, but it was a matter of Zhanghai City's honor. It was weighing heavily on her shoulders. Oh, that's it? Life's already tough enough as it is. But since your master's here, you don't have to fear anyone? With that said, I tapped her forehead with my finger. A surging torrent of sword intent inheritance flowed directly into her mind. Compared to the emperor-level rewards I had, this was nothing but peanuts. But Liu Ruyan was completely blown away. She dropped to her knees and kowtowed 3 times heavily. Then Liu Ruyan spoke up again. Master, you need to be careful. This sword saint, who's at the peak of the Grandmaster realm, came to Zhanghai City. Just for you? I must have offended him somehow. My mind was screaming in frustration. You're challenging me without even offering a reward? But then it hit me. No one's ever seen what I look like anyway. I could just take a little trip and pretend I'm not around. With that thought, I ditched my training session and hightailed it out of that trouble spot. In the days that followed, I went to the 2nd floor of the library. With the boost from my spiritual power, I grew more and more proficient with the Blood God art. I was just about to scroll through short videos to relax, when the very first pop-up was news that the Prairie Sword Saint and his disciple had already arrived in Zhanghai City. The Sword Saint's name was Tang Ba, and his disciple was Xiao Huo. I was about to swipe past, not caring one bit, when the system's voice rang out in my head. Detected presence of Xiao Huo, a rank D sword fiend powerhouse. Even the Empress won't be able to save you this time. Host, you need to run for your life, now. Whoa, rank D? Now you've got my attention. I thought about it for a second. If I went all out, taking down that Sword Saint master of his wouldn't even be that hard. But then I had a better idea. Wait, didn't I still have Li Wuyan as my hired fighter? Besides, the mission didn't say I had to kill them. Just defeat them would be enough. With that plan in mind, I rushed straight to the arena. The arena was packed with people. Everyone's eyes glued to the stage. I stared down at Xiao Huo, and his stats popped up in front of me instantly. Name, Xiao Huo. Age, 518. Cultivation, Early Emperor Sovereign Realm. Perfect, perfect. I could barely contain my excitement to claim the reward from this old geezer. Liu Ruyan and Xiao Huo drew their swords at the same time. In the blink of an eye, their blades clashed dozens of times. Both their sword auras dripped with killing intent, showcasing the pinnacle of swordsmanship. For a moment, the battle on stage fell into a deadlock. After over a dozen rounds, neither of them had gained the upper hand, and both of them were already sporting some injuries. With a loud bang, the two of them jumped back, separating temporarily. Xiao Huo burst into maniacal laughter, roaring up at the sky. He had completely lost his mind. The sword intent radiating from him surged rapidly. He unleashed the Sword Saint's signature ultimate move. 10,000 swords converge. Seeing this, Liu Ruyan stopped holding back as well. One sword cleaves the heavenly gate. So what if you have 1,000 swords? My single blade will shatter them all. Those extra training sessions I gave her weren't for nothing. Liu Ruyan swung her sword. It was like splitting open the gate of heaven itself. Her sword chi swept through everything in its path, heading straight for Xiao Huo's head. A massive explosion erupted. The dust cloud instantly engulfed the entire arena. It took several minutes for the dust to settle, revealing the two fighters below. Xiao Huo's sword was shattered to pieces. He knelt on one knee, his face as pale as a sheet. Blood kept gushing out of his mouth. Meanwhile, Liu Ruyan stood tall and proud. Her sword pointed directly at Xiao Huo's forehead. The match was over. The audience erupted into thunderous cheers. The entire crowd shouted Liu Ruyan's name. As for me, I just leaned back comfortably in my chair. No need to guess. That lousy system was definitely stunned into silence again. After a long pause, its trembling voice finally sounded. Host defeated a rank D sword fiend. Without even lifting a finger yourself. Sorry for doubting you earlier, boss. I bow down to you. Reward. 100 years of cultivation base. Enough to boost you directly to the late Grandmaster realm. Reward. God-tier movement technique. A step to the ends of the earth. Obtained 1 copy of the mystic Heavenly Pill scripture. Whoa, another huge haul. Now that I'd gotten what I wanted, I didn't stick around any longer. I quickly found a secluded spot to start absorbing these awesome rewards. In just 1 month, I rocketed from the early Grandmaster realm to the late Grandmaster realm. But thinking about the upcoming challenges, fighting rank D and rank C powerhouses left and right, I couldn't help but sigh. The path of cultivation is truly endless. But the thing that really caught my interest was the mystic Heavenly Pill scripture. Alchemists in this world were rarer than 3-legged toads. If I mastered this scripture with the help of the Enlightenment space, I'd be set for life. In the days that followed, I stayed in the Enlightenment space, devoting myself to studying the art of alchemy. But man, that stuff was insanely hard to learn. Just as I was about to go buy some herbs to test my skills, a live stream notification popped up on my phone, catching my eye. The Prairie Sword Saint Tangba was publicly challenging the Jianghai Sword God at Broken Peak Mountain. I'd already claimed my reward, so I really didn't want to get involved again. But this old fart was hurling insults like there was no tomorrow, and from the looks of it, he'd been at it for days. Can't even hide from this guy? Is there no escaping him? Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared on screen. Liu Ruyan. Your conduct is truly beneath contempt, sir. My master wouldn't even bother to waste his time on a clown like you. Liu Ruyan's words were sharp as knives, cutting straight to the bone. Tangba had already been stewing in anger. After being ignored for so long, now getting roasted by a young girl? His face turned as dark as thunder. In the next second, he flicked his sword at Liu Ruyan. The pressure from his sword was like a mountain crashing down. Blood instantly spurted from Liu Ruyan's mouth and nose. This girl had guts, but not much common sense. Just as she was about to be crushed by the pressure, the space around her suddenly trembled, rippling violently. A figure cloaked in black crossed the distance in an instant, appearing right beside Liu Ruyan. This old bastard dared to touch my prized disciple? He was asking for death. The moment he saw me, Tangba's eyes blazed with a near-mad fighting spirit. Our sword auras collided, instantly causing the heavens and earth to tremble. I had no time for his nonsense. A low hum resonated as my sword unsheathed. The purple star, divine sword, appeared in my hand, glowing with brilliant celestial light. I'm in a hurry. 1 strike to decide the winner. I bent my knees, leaned sideways, and placed my hand on the hilt of the purple star sword. The heaven-severing sword-drawing art instantly gathered an endless wave of killing intent. Tangba's expression turned grim. He immediately unleashed the perfected version of 10,000 swords converge. A surge of murderous aura erupted forth, as thousands upon thousands of sword auras swirled around him, a terrifying sight like a black cloud pressing down on the land. The stillness of my stance and the chaos of his attack formed a stark contrast. Tangba raised 2 fingers. A surging river of sword chi cascaded down, like an ocean crashing in reverse. I gripped the sword hilt and unleashed a burst of power. A dazzling burst of sword light erupted, shaking the earth to its core. The 2 colossal waves of sword chi clashed and tangled, letting out a thunderous roar that shook the heavens. In an instant, boundless sword light exploded forth. The live stream cameras were completely flooded by the blinding glow. The netizens went absolutely wild. "Whoa, it's like they're dropping nuclear bombs here, defying gods with a mortal body." The wait felt like an eternity. Finally, the sword light faded. People finally got a clear view of the battlefield. Mountains were shattered, and valleys had been flattened into plains. Yet I still stood tall between heaven and earth, the purple star divine sword hummed cheerfully in my hand. Tangba also stood proudly in midair, but blood oozed from the corner of his mouth, his face as pale as a ghost. The sword in his hand had been reduced to dust. Not even the hilt remained. I concede. Tangba's face fell, crestfallen. He let the dirt in his hand drift away with the wind. We were never on the same level. It was a complete and utter blowout. Not even a consolation prize. This fight was meaningless from the start. After a few quick words to Liu Ruyan, I prepared to leave. "Oh, and old Dung, you've been bad-mouthing me for days. Don't have a breakdown when I'm gone, all right?" My figure slowly faded away, dissolving into stardust and vanishing into the heavens and earth. The color drained from Tangba's face the second he realized. It was just an avatar. The real sword god of Jianghai never even showed up. I poured every ounce of skill I had, and still lost to a mere avatar of his. Confusion, terror, humiliation. A jumble of emotions flashed across Tangba's face in an instant. His eyes rolled back, his chest tightening with rage. A mouthful of dark blood spewed from his lips. "Sword god of Jianghai, so this is how little I mean to you." The sword saint closed his eyes in despair, and he passed out cold. Tangba's defeat shook the entire martial world. I woke up in a quiet corner of the library, stretching lazily. After this battle, Duan Fengshan changed his title to Sword God, forever honoring the name of the Sword God of Jianghai. Just when I thought things were finally over, and I could focus on studying alchemy in peace, the system's voice rang in my head. "You absolute madman! You pissed off the Sword Saint to the brink of death!" Detected. Sword Demon harbors boundless hatred toward the host. A feud to the death. Dispatch your disciple immediately to eliminate the Sword Demon. What? That old geezer from the grasslands has such a short fuse? Wait a second. This plot feels familiar. Oh no, this is Cliché City. Is this the whole never underestimate a young man shtick? You think you can play this game with me? I let out a cold, mocking chuckle. This brat must be eliminated. No exceptions. Midnight. Xiaohuo clutched a jar of freshly cremated ashes, standing by the window. The day I returned to Jianghai, everyone in this city will pay with their lives. I heard every word loud and clear from the rooftop. Well said. Too bad you'll never get the chance. In the blink of an eye, a bone-chilling dread washed over Xiaohuo, his sense of danger screaming at him. A cold flash of sword light sliced through the air like a gentle breeze, slitting his throat clean open. The future Emperor Supreme Realm Sword Demon. Deceased. Detected. Host killed the Sword Demon with a single strike. Reward, the true scripture of the righteous path. Plus 50 years of cultivation base. I ignored the system's noisy notifications for the moment, focusing on the urgent task of disposing of the body in ashes. As soon as my hand touched Xiaohu's corpse, a strange mental energy wave emanated from his right hand. Holy shit, 2 star rings! Probably one for the old man, one for the kid. That sword saint had been saving up for his whole life. There must be a fortune inside. A grin spread across my face, stretching from ear to ear. Thanks for the free loot, nature. After erasing all traces from the room, I took the 2 of them to the lakeside. With a flick of my wrist, both body and ashes turned to dust. Since you love Jianghai so much, stay here and feed the fish forever. Back home, after absorbing those 50 years of cultivation, my realm skyrocketed to the peak of Grandmaster Realm. It scared the 9-tailed fox half to death. Is he some kind of cultivation prodigy? I also learned the realms beyond Grandmaster. Respected then supreme. To become a supreme, one must comprehend the power of the Tao. Before that, you're only half-step supreme. But I wasn't in a hurry. With my current strength, I was more than capable of being invincible under heaven. Suddenly, I remembered the 2 star rings I'd seized. When I opened them, I yelled out in shock. Piles of starstones, mountains high, all kinds of rare and precious medicinal herbs as far as the eye could see, and a huge collection of swordsmanship manuals, including the legendary 10,000 Swords Returned to the Sect. These master and disciple were basically walking ATMs. After days of relentless study, I'd made decent progress in alchemy. But to refine pills, you need either earth fire or a beast core flame. Earth fire was controlled by the authorities. I didn't want the hassle of dealing with them. After a moment's thought, I decided to head into the mountains tomorrow to get a flame. The Dali Mountains were the oldest mountain range in the region, echoing with the roars of ferocious beasts everywhere. But any beast that dared show its face was killed instantly. Whitey and I, man and beast, plowed straight through to the depths of the mountains, until we reached a dark black basin. A pack of wolves had made their lair here, and their leader was a blazing flame demon wolf, its entire body wreathed in fire. Following the principle of sustainable development, I decided to take out the leader directly. A step to the horizon. I activated the technique and appeared in front of the Wolf King in an instant. Before it could even react, I'd crushed its heart to pulp. "Sneaky bastard, that's me." I snatched the beast core and bolted. As the dust settled, the wolf pack realized their alpha was dead, and they hadn't even gotten a good look at the killer. I was just about to head back, when my sharp spiritual sense picked up a familiar aura. "Liu Ruyan, what's she doing here?" After our last battle, she'd felt her swordsmanship lacked killing intent, so she'd come to the mountains to train. At that moment, she was locked in a fierce battle with a terrifying mountain tiger. One sword opens the heavenly gate. She was about to unleash the move, when the mountain tiger suddenly vanished. In the blink of an eye, it reappeared behind her. Swinging a massive paw downward, Liu Ruyan's eyes rolled back, and she collapsed face first onto the ground. She was on the verge of dying right there. Suddenly, a purple ripple streaked across the sky, piercing directly through the tiger man Shan Hu's forehead. Not sure if it was her luck or mine, but either way, I'd saved my precious reward package again. Total win. Guaranteed victory. I quickly carried the unconscious Liu Ruyan to the gym, seeing she was out of danger. I planned to leave right away, but to my shock, that traitor Xiaobai had left a stone for Liu Ruyan, and carved on the stone were the words, "Zhanghai Library." Before Liu Ruyan woke up, I made a run for it. I was home in just a few seconds. The fire flame demon wolf's core was scorching hot, but under the refinement of my surging spiritual power, it soon turned into scorching energy and was absorbed into my body. I took out the alchemy cauldron I'd prepared earlier. Everything was ready. Time to start refining pills. I controlled the flame temperature carefully, adding medicinal herbs to the cauldron from time to time. Half an hour passed. A rich fragrance of pills wafted out. 3 pills forged successfully. What a big haul. I picked up one mind-condensing pill, which could enhance spiritual power, and tossed it into Xiaobai's mouth. A surging wave of spiritual power instantly flooded her mind. "Master, it's top grade." Watching her twitch and tremble all over, she looked utterly cringeworthy. The next day I went to the library as usual. To my surprise, Liu Ruyan was already there, and from the look of it, she'd come for me. "What's your relationship with the sword god of Zhanghai?" Caught off guard by this sudden question, I was left completely confused. Weird, had my silly disciple found something out? It turned out that before she passed out yesterday, she'd sensed it was her master who'd saved her. When she woke up, she also saw the stone Xiaobai had secretly left behind. I was the only security guard at this library. Naturally, she'd come looking for me. No, it wasn't time to expose my identity yet. "Lady, are you out of your mind? If I had any connection to the sword god, would I still be working here as a security guard?" Liu Ruyan was left speechless, completely baffled. She couldn't figure out why her master would tell her to come find such a loser. After an awkward pause, she mumbled an apology and left, watching Xiaobai shaking with laughter nearby. As a man, my sharp sixth sense immediately told me something was off about this whole thing. "Don't let me find any proof against you." After Liu Ruyan left, I planned to find some books on alchemy to continue my studies, but compared to the mysterious heavenly alchemy scripture, these books were just child's play. Unexpectedly, I'd already become one of the top alchemists in the world. Oh well, I'd just slack off and take the day off. I thought about going to the market to stock up on supplies after work. But me, the mighty sword god of Zhanghai, was actually ambushed halfway there. Just as I was about to walk through an alley to reach the market, a sharp blade of sword chi shot straight at me. What nerve, daring to wield a sword in front of Guangong. But the moment I waved my hand to dispel the sword chi, I thought to myself, this is bad. Sure enough, the next second, Liu Ruyan appeared right in front of me. I'm the sword god's disciple. My master ordered me to come find you. I looked at her with a totally confused expression. When did I give you such an order? But now that my skills had been exposed, if I didn't fool her completely, she'd definitely come pestering me every day. Fine, I'll stop pretending. I'm actually your senior brother. I said these two sentences with a straight face, not the slightest trace of guilt. Liu Ruyan was utterly shocked, recalling how I'd casually waved away that sword chi earlier, plus that stone marked with the library's name. Everything suddenly clicked into place. Ruyan greets senior brother. Seeing this, I asked the question I'd been dying to ask. What exactly did Master tell you to come here for? Glancing at the stone in Liu Ruyan's hand, then at Xiaobai, who was already sweating bullets, I growled, "You little rascal! You're making a fool out of me, aren't you?" After getting rid of Liu Ruyan, I didn't even bother going to the market anymore. I went straight home. In an instant, a pitch-black domain enveloped the entire room. Xiaobai nearly wet herself in fear. "Master, please listen to my explanation." I wasn't in the mood to listen to her nonsense. I forced a soul contract on her. From now on, she'd have no more secrets from me. Whatever dirty tricks she was hatching, I'd find out about them the second they crossed her mind. Xiaobai's legs gave way, and she collapsed to the ground, resigned to her fate. Suddenly, the system's voice rang out in my head again. Detected that the scheming nine-tailed fox demon has become utterly loyal to the host. Reward, 1 fragment of the wood law. Whoa, that works too? The fragment in my hand radiated a vibrant life force, possessing the power to raise the dead and heal bones. This must be the power of the laws. I couldn't even imagine how terrifying a true Supreme Realm cultivator must be. In the days that followed, I spent every day figuring out how to milk more rewards from this lousy system, until the arrival of a new guy. When I arrived at the library that day, I was surprised to find I had a new colleague. But the second I saw him, an urgent system alert blared in my mind. Detected Li Qinghe, Grandmaster of Array Formations. How the hell do you keep running into all these big shots? Run for your life already. The next moment, a screen appeared before my eyes. Name, Li Qinghe, age, 519. Cultivation, Early Emperor, Supreme Realm. My eyes widened in shock. Jackpot! Hello, my name is Li Qing. Please take care of me from now on. Li Qing? Why not Li Sin while you're at it, I thought to myself. But when you're away from home, you make your own identity. I didn't expose her, instead chatting with her warmly like old friends. Suddenly it hit me. Hadn't I obtained the Scripture of Orthodox Path a few days ago? If I challenged her to an array duel and defeated her so thoroughly that she conceded, wouldn't that earn me a huge reward? With that thought, I quickly found a corner to study array formations, but my sharp spiritual sense kept lingering around Li Qinghe. Sure enough, she started muttering to herself. Stupid rules of passing down skills only to males. I couldn't care less. This time, I will get my hands on the diagram of 10,000 arrays. Diagram of 10,000 arrays. This lady? Wait, this guy's not even a man? This kid has extraordinary talent. After that, I spent most of my time delving into array formations, with the help of the Enlightenment space, plus the treasures left behind by the old Sword Saint. My array formation skills improved by leaps and bounds, already reaching the level of a grandmaster. But in Li Qinghe's eyes, I'd become nothing more than a useless slacker who only knew how to sleep with his eyes closed. Nice try, kid. Just wait till I teach you a lesson. Don't go crying to mommy. Finally, on an afternoon when the librarian was away on a business trip, a faint ripple of array formation energy seeped into my spiritual domain. Li Qinghe was about to make her move. She'd set up an illusion array. She probably planned to wait until nightfall, knock out the guards with the illusion, then make her move. But why was the array's energy heading straight for me? It turned out this little girl had taken a dislike to me, the slacker, and wanted to test the power of her array on me first. The space around me suddenly transformed into a terrifying hellscape. How amusing, you actually dare to take the initiative? I saw through these petty tricks in an instant, locking my gaze directly on Li Qinghe, who was outside the array. Just as she was feeling confused, I waved my hand casually. A surge of powerful spiritual power erupted. The illusion shattered like glass in an instant. Li Qinghe's jaw dropped to the floor. How could this loser possibly break my array? And she clearly read my lip movements. If you're bad at it, practice more. If you can't handle it, don't play. In that moment, shock, confusion, and shame flooded her face all at once. The long-awaited system voice also rang out in my head. Oh my God! The host just waved his hand and completely crushed an Orthodox Path Grandmaster. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the fragment of the Thunder Law, plus the diagram of the Big Dipper array. Overjoyed, I was about to take my rewards and go study them in depth, when Li Qinghe chased after me and grabbed my arm. Who are you? What's your purpose here? Seriously, dude? Playing the thief crying stop thief with me? After I unleashed a barrage of verbal attacks on her, Li Qinghe was left stammering, unable to say anything other than that night. Li Qinghe composed herself and headed to the third floor of the library. But what she didn't know was that I'd already been standing in front of the diagram of 10,000 arrays for ages, having studied the array countless times compared to the Big Dipper array. This thing was so boring I'd rather watch Peppa Pig. It's not even worth giving to a dog. 3 hours later, Li Qinghe finally made her way through countless traps and stood before the array diagram. Her eyes lit up with excitement. She muttered to herself, "Once I master the diagram of 10,000 arrays. We'll see how I teach that lousy security guard a lesson." Li Qinghe kept a low profile for the next few days. One day I was eating breakfast as usual at the library entrance, trying to figure out how to squeeze more benefits out of this Orthodox Path Grandmaster, when Ruyan walked toward me holding a lunchbox. "Senior brother, I made this breakfast for you." I hadn't even had time to react, when Li Qinghe ran over in a hurry and pulled her away. I listened in on their conversation with my spiritual sense and was completely shocked by what I heard. It turned out Li Qinghe was Liu Ruyan's cousin. "Ruyan, that security guard is no good. You'd better stay away from him." Liu Ruyan was caught off guard by this sudden show of concern. Seeing that she didn't believe it, Li Qinghe added, "He slacks off and sleeps all day, completely lacking in ambition. But the other day, he casually broke my array with just a wave of his hand. He must be a scheming villain with ulterior motives." Liu Ruyan suddenly had an epiphany. Master must have sent me here to learn from senior brother's state of mind. Calm, and understanding the Tao through stillness, Li Qinghe watched as Liu Ruyan and I chatted back and forth and grew more and more anxious. Talking today. Who knows if they'll be kissing tomorrow? After Liu Ruyan left, Li Qinghe marched straight up to me. "I challenge you." The stakes were, if she won, I would leave Zhanghai City forever. If I won, she would kowtow immediately and acknowledge me as her master. Who gave you the courage? Fish Liang? But having a Earth Realm expert bowed to me as a master, this was definitely another huge reward waiting to happen. A promise is a promise. No going back on your word. We arrived at the outskirts of the city. Li Qinghe waved her hand, activating the elaborate array she'd set up here in advance. Come prepared, I see. The contest rules were simple. It was a straightforward test of whose array had stronger offensive power. In the blink of an eye, my mental power surged violently all over my body. I made a few gestures in the air with my fingers, and a blazing red array of 10,000 demons instantly engulfed Li Qinghe. After a deafening explosion, her shoddy little array shattered like paper. This series of events completely blew her mind. What's going on? Where's my array? Seeing her dumbfounded look, I didn't want to waste any more time with her. Keep your promise. She, the proud disciple, had never imagined she would lose. When Li Qinghe finally snapped back to her senses, she looked utterly miserable. This jerk, Ruyan calls him senior brother and Ruyan calls me cousin. If I call him master now, won't that turn everything upside down? In the end, Li Qinghe's face turned ashen. A faint, almost inaudible master still escaped her lips. Ding, a grandmaster of array formations actually called you master. You are truly a god among men, host. Reward, 1 fragment of the Orthodox Path Law. The smile on my face was so wide it could have rivaled the curve of an AK, watching me look so smug. Li Qinghe burst into tears, fleeing the scene of her humiliation without looking back. Back home, I couldn't wait to take out the law fragment. With this thing, I could revitalize the innate realm and dominate the heavenly cycle. I shall be the ruler of all changes under heaven. With this boost, I could finally set up the complete Big Dipper array, with the firmament as paper and the stars as ink. The heavenly punishment unleashed by this 7th rank array would make it impossible even for a Supreme Realm expert to walk out alive. Great, I've got another means of protecting myself now. The next day, I arrived at the library, fully expecting Lee King-hae to have resigned in shame. To my surprise, not only was she there, she was even talking to the librarian. I listened in on their conversation and learned that Lee King-hae actually had quite an impressive background. My father is the librarian. Before I knew it, the afternoon rolled around. I was taking a nap when I suddenly felt someone poke my arm. I turned my head, and Lee King-hae called out Master in a voice that sounded like she was suffering excruciating pain. It turned out she'd gone to find Liu Ruyan the night before, and after pestering her relentlessly, she'd finally found out about my identity as the Sword God's chief disciple. But it was her who'd sworn allegiance to me as a disciple. It was like some sort of internet drama plot. Then she put on a show. Master, now that I've acknowledged you as my master, shouldn't I get to meet my grandmaster as well? So she was actually after the sword god of Zhanghai. He's not home. No one knows where he went, or when he'll be back. My smooth reply left Lee King-hae tongue-tied once again. Just then, Liu Ruyan arrived to ask me for advice on swordsmanship. I grinned mischievously. It's time to introduce my junior sister to my little disciple. King-hae, come greet your master aunt. Lee King-hae wished she could crawl into a hole and disappear. Just a couple of days ago, she'd been telling Ruyan to stay away from me, and now she'd become my disciple herself. What kind of twisted nonsense is this? Liu Ruyan was equally dumbfounded. What's going on here? Cousin King-hae, weren't you on bad terms with senior brother? Seeing the awkward atmosphere, I spoke up first. Junior sister. When King-hae swore allegiance to me, she was so sincere and earnest, so genuine. She cried her eyes out. Sigh, I really couldn't bear to turn her down. After just a couple of sentences, Lee King-hae's face turned as red as a tomato. Nonsense, Ruyan. Listen to me explain! Watching her dig herself into a deeper hole, Liu Ruyan gave her a look that said save it. I get it. Lee King-hae gave up trying to defend herself, suddenly feeling like life was utterly meaningless. In the days that followed, I focused all my energy on comprehending the power of the laws. At this rate, it wouldn't be long. Before I ascended to the Supreme Realm, suddenly a news alert caught my eye. Cultists have been causing chaos recently. Citizens are advised to minimize going out. Lately, I'd clearly noticed that the star power in the air was growing more and more violent each day. Once every 20 years, this world was ravaged by a tide of monsters. It seemed Zhanghai City was about to face turbulent times. Just as I was contemplating whether I should step in when the time came, a sinister figure appeared at the library entrance. He held a strange starstone in his hand, constantly channeling mental power into it. This thing's going to explode. Just as he finished his preparations and was about to hurl the stone inside, a hand emerged out of nowhere and pressed down firmly on the starstone. Hey buddy, trying to ruin my livelihood? I can't let that happen. The starstone shattered instantly. In the next second, my hand clamped around the man's neck. With a single squeeze, I snapped it cleanly. Immediately after, I sent my spiritual sense probing into the deepest recesses of his mind. A flood of memories came rushing in. In an instant, I understood the entire story. After disposing of the body, I immediately went to the second floor to find Lee King-hae. I told her, your father will be in danger tonight. Take these array-stabilizing heartstones. If danger arises, don't hesitate. Channel your mental power into them at once. Seeing the serious look on my face, Lee King-hae realized the gravity of the situation. She said, thank you, Master, grabbed the stones and rushed home immediately. From the memories I'd just retrieved, I learned that these dead soldiers were the vanguard sent ahead of the monster tide. Their goal was to destroy everything that might stand in the way of the tide. And Li Daoming, the librarian who could control the city-protecting array, was one of their primary targets. Sure enough, a fierce battle erupted at the Li family villa district that night. It wasn't until dawn was breaking that a brilliant array light flashed across the sky, finally bringing the brutal battle to an end. By then, the villa district was drenched in blood, littered with broken limbs and severed arms everywhere. To the Li family, those array spirit stones of mine were nothing short of a lifesaver. When I arrived at the library, Lee King-hae was already there waiting for me. She bowed respectfully and called out, Master. In her left hand was a property deed, in her right, a car key. These are a small token of my father's gratitude. Please accept them, master. Whoa! I was going to drive a luxury car and live in a villa too. As the monster tide drew near, the sense of unease in Jianghai City grew stronger by the day. Higher-ups also sent reinforcements to aid Jianghai, and I received my first guest since moving into the villa. Liu Ruyan looked grave. Senior brother, do you know about the monster tide? The monster tide is divided into 3 levels: normal, difficult, and hellish. The normal level tide 20 years ago already claimed countless lives, but according to the latest intelligence, this time it's not just Jianghai, it's a nationwide disaster. And it's already brushing against the threshold of hellish difficulty. Even with reinforcements, the odds of victory were slim. Jianghai's top officials had nowhere left to retreat, preparing for the worst-case scenario of the city falling and everyone perishing. At this point, I already guessed why Liu Ruyan had come to me. Please, senior brother, convey Jianghai's crisis to master. Beg him to step forward and save the people of Jianghai from the brink of destruction. I'd lived here for so long, it was impossible not to have developed feelings for the city, but against an army of hundreds of thousands of star beasts, I wasn't confident I could hold them back either. I promised Liu Ruyan I would contact master as soon as possible. After she left, I let out a long sigh. Fellow cultivators, the great calamity is imminent. All those who wish to prevent the heavens from falling, rise. Hardly had Liu Ruyan left the door when I detected 2 sinister auras tailing her. They must have been part of the same group that tried to blow up the library earlier. If you're here, you might as well stay, I said. A sword light flashed in an instant. Before the 2 could even react, their heads had fallen to the ground. After searching their souls, I learned these men belonged to an organization called the Beast God Cult, and their current top target was none other than me, the sword god of Jianghai. But these 2 were low-ranking lackeys, and that was all they knew. Doesn't matter, I'll handle it. As the mental power in the air grew increasingly intense, the star beasts affected by it became extremely violent. Star beast riots broke out frequently across the city. One day I went to scout the situation outside the city as usual, but as soon as I got home, a ferocious aura invaded my spiritual domain. The villa was in utter shambles, the walls and floors covered with terrifying claw marks, and Xiaobai was nowhere to be seen. No, even Xiaobai couldn't hold out. I followed our spiritual link and locked onto her location instantly. At that moment, the farmer's market looked like it had been bombed to smithereens. Xiaobai had transformed back into her 9-tailed fox form, her eyes bloodshot, wreaking havoc everywhere, just as Xiaobai's massive jaws were about to clamp down on a passerby's neck. I swung my 7-wolves whip without hesitation. A sharp crack echoed as it struck her rear end. Xiaobai's eyes suddenly cleared, but she quickly slipped back into her berserk state. I wielded the 7-wolves whip with devastating strikes, turning Xiaobai back into her human form after just a few lashes. Her eyes rolled back, and she fainted on the spot. Youth is truly wonderful, I sighed, knocked out cold in an instant. Next, I activated the Law of Wood, instantly enveloping the injured civilians. Broken bones mended, torn flesh regenerated. Their wounds healed in the blink of an eye. After returning home, I examined Xiaobai's condition carefully. The situation was really bad, extremely bad. Xiaobai's consciousness was muddled. If left unchecked, it wouldn't be long before she turned into a bloodthirsty beast. Realizing this, I immediately took out a mind-calming pill. With my miraculous healing, Xiaobai quickly regained her senses. But to my surprise, Xiaobai had actually benefited from this ordeal and was about to break through her cultivation. Her aura surged dramatically, and in the span of a few moments, she grew an extra tail, her 3 tails becoming 4. A ding with the host's pet has evolved from king rank to emperor rank. Need I say more? The host is absolutely awesome. Reward 1 copy of the true scripture of Qi refining. All right. I see you're throwing me a bone now that I'm in a pinch. You're practically forcing benefits on me, huh? At least this system has a shred of conscience. After settling Xiaobai down, I hurried to enter the enlightenment space. This true scripture of Qi refining was definitely a grade D martial art, containing the methods to forge all kinds of weapons. If I wanted, I could even forge another Purple Star Divine Sword. But forging powerful weapons required top-tier materials, and with my current resources, it was nothing more than a pipe dream. Wait a minute. 9-tailed fox? I saw it written in the forging materials section. The entire body of a 9-tailed fox is a treasure. Even their fur has incredible uses. Why hesitate when I can take action? Looking at the sleeping Xiaobai, I gave one of her tails a quick snip. I followed the steps in the true scripture of chi refining meticulously, constantly channeling mental power into the white fur. Mysterious patterns gradually formed on the fur's surface, transforming it into countless silver needles gleaming with cold light. Finally, I crafted a small case to hold them. An exquisite hidden weapon was successfully created. I'll call it the Rainstorm Pear Blossom Needles. This thing, while it could easily kill an innate realm martial artist, was no more than a toy in my eyes. Little did I know at the time, these Rainstorm Pear Blossom Needles would become a crucial weapon in resisting the monster tide in the days to come. In the days that followed, everyone in Jianghai, from top to bottom, raced against time to build defensive fortifications. A sense of despair hung heavy over the hearts of the people. But then, a bombshell piece of news suddenly broke, igniting the entire city with hope. The Sword God of Jianghai has returned. He is currently at Sword God Valley. I was completely dumbfounded. How come I didn't know about this? But as I watched the live stream footage of that figure in black robes, I couldn't say we looked alike. We were identical. Oh no, I've become a doppelganger. The entire city's citizens flocked to Sword God Valley like madmen. Even the instructors and students from the No. 4 Martial Arts Academy arrived on the scene to welcome the Sword God's return. This fake Sword God made no attempt to hide his aura, his tyrannical sword energy rampaging wildly as if showing off his strength. The first to sense that something was wrong was Liu Ruyan. Master has returned to Jianghai. How come none of his disciples knew about it? Moreover, this man's aura is nothing like Master's. Master embodies the essence of seclusion, calm and unassuming. But this guy up there is swaggering around like he owns the place. As the crowd gathered below grew larger and larger, the fake sword god spoke up. This seat has saved Jianghai countless times. It's time to collect some offerings in return. As soon as the words left his mouth, the civilians below went wild, cheering as they pulled out all their valuable possessions. Shut up, all of you! After the thunderous roar, his long sword was drawn. Liu Ruyan pointed her sword directly at the figure in black robes. You are not the sword god. Seeing this, I finally understood. This must have been another scheme by the beast god cult, using public opinion to force me to reveal myself. Following Liu Ruyan's lead, Li Qingyi, her father the librarian, and even the dean of the Martial Arts Academy all stepped forward one after another. In their eyes, the sword god's image was sacred and inviolable. Seeing this, the black-robed man dropped the pretense. A terrifying sword energy instantly ravaged the entire valley. Sword god of Jianghai, get your ass out here at once! Some of the civilians below couldn't withstand the pressure, spitting blood from their mouths and noses instantly. His original plan had been to plunder all the wealth first, then carry out a bloody massacre. Whether the real sword god showed up today or not, he would be ruined, his reputation destroyed forever. The black-robed man waved his hand. His mental power stretched for miles, forming a terrifying pressure zone. This overwhelming heavenly might pressed down, threatening to crush every single person in the valley to death. Liu Ruyan and the others fought back valiantly, but to a grandmaster, innate realm cultivators were no different from ants. Cries, screams, and roars filled the entire valley. A living hell on earth. The black-robed man listened to the wails echoing through the valley, and out of the corner of his eye, he suddenly spotted a purple glow flickering on the distant horizon, brighter than the rising sun, darker than the setting moon. The black-robed man froze. Before he could react, the purple light streaked thousands of miles in an instant, charging straight toward him. His heart skipped a beat. But it was already too late to run. The purple star divine sword, blazing with boundless thunder, pierced his chest in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, another figure clad in black robes appeared, yanking the sword out of his chest. The same black robes, but the aura he exuded was far more terrifying than the imposter's. The oppressive pressure in the valley vanished instantly, even the howling wind falling silent. Tears streamed down the faces of the people below, as if they had laid eyes on a deity. This is the real sword god. At that moment, I stared solemnly at the black-robed man lying on the ground. When the purple star divine sword had pierced him moments earlier, faint, eerie array patterns had flickered across his chest. And in the next second, the array patterns flared to life. The black-robed man jolted awake, his vitality miraculously restored. A secret technique! He saw the surging killing intent in my eyes, just as the sword light of the purple star divine sword was about to strike the top of his head. The black-robed man screamed toward the distance, "Hurry! Save me!" Suddenly, the space in front of him twisted and shattered. An old man wearing a gold-plated mask strode out, and with a single palm, he crushed the sure-kill sword strike. Another expert. From his aura, I sensed the power of the laws. Clearly, he was at the same level as me, both of us at the half-step supreme realm. Without hesitation, I spread my hands wide and summoned an ancient and simple array diagram. I raised my hand and made a series of precise hand seals toward the starry sky. The firmament shall be my eyes, the 7 stars my array lines. The Big Dipper stars instantly connected in the sky. Daring to form an array before this old man, "You're courting death!" The old man slammed his staff into the ground. Black mental power surged forth, roaring like 100 beasts. "The 7-star heavenly array is complete. I think you're the one courting death." The vast power of heaven poured down from the array, tens of thousands of streaks of starlight transforming into sharp swords that rained down. They engulfed the old man's body in the blink of an eye. When the old man reappeared before everyone's eyes, his body was riddled with countless gaping holes, as if he had been pierced by 10,000 arrows. The black-robed man stared at the celestial spectacle, scared out of his wits. The almighty venerable who had been so arrogant moments ago had been defeated just like that? The masked old man fell to his knees, gasping for breath. He suddenly lifted his head, his eyes blazing with a desperate ferocity. After a thunderous roar, his skin split open, blood spurting from every pore, for the glory of the beast god cult. "This old man shall die without regret. Shit, this old bastard's going to self-detonate." He chased after my figure, a streak of red and a streak of purple. 2 bolts of lightning streaking straight into the sky. Li Daoming watched the scene unfolding above from the valley, instantly understanding everything. With a suicidal move like this, the sword god could easily dodge it. But if this villain were to charge into the city instead, Shanghai City would be reduced to ashes in an instant. But a self-detonation from a half-step supreme, even the sword god would be in dire straits. He left the rest unspoken. Silence spoke louder than words. Sobs echoed continuously through the crowd. At this moment, Liu Ruyan was already in tears, struggling to rush forward to save her master, but it was already too late. The red and purple bolts of lightning collided violently, clashing like 2 caged beasts in the sky. The cataclysmic explosion was like the end of the world. Even from 10,000 miles away, the shockwave still reduced countless buildings to rubble. In the next second, the entire world was engulfed in white light. A deathly silence descended. Not a single sound could be heard. After an eternity, the white light finally faded away amid the anxious weight of the people. "It's the sword god, he won, no one knew," who shouted first. But the crowd immediately erupted into thunderous cheers. There I stood, high above the ground, still holding my sword, though my robes were torn and tattered. The crisis was over. I did not linger, waving my hand dismissively as I left this place of trouble. It wasn't that I was trying to be cool. That old bastard had really put me through the ringer with his self-detonation. If I hadn't summoned a doppelganger at the last moment to take the brunt of the damage, I would have either died or been severely injured. Even so, I had still suffered quite a serious wound, but his self-detonation had given me a new insight into the supreme realm. The old man had used his life as a bomb, demonstrating the power of the laws to me firsthand. How touching. I estimated that I would be able to fully break through to the supreme realm in a matter of days. In the days that followed, the people of Shanghai celebrated as if it were a festival. The oppressive atmosphere of days past was swept away completely. Streets and alleys were filled with tales of the sword god of Shanghai's heroic deeds. With Senior Sword God around, Shanghai will be safe forever. At the same time, deep in the grasslands of the northwestern part of the Dragon Kingdom, a shadowy figure sat atop a throne of bones, exuding an aura 10 times more terrifying than the masked old man's. Enlightened Venerable has fallen in Shanghai. Interesting. Ever since the battle at Sword God Valley, I had been sequestered in the Enlightenment space. The image of the old man's self-detonation played repeatedly before my eyes. By the 28th time I replayed his death, I had completely grasped the laws contained within it. The time has come. Breakthrough. I sealed off the entire space around the villa. Fragments of the laws of thunder and wood erupted with violent energy in my grasp. Lightning coiled through the sky like thunder dragons, and flowers bloomed on the grass and trees of the earth. Auras of destruction and rebirth intertwined. On the verge of merging, this celestial phenomenon lasted throughout the night, until the sun rose in the east. I slowly opened my eyes and yawned lazily. At this moment, The vast mental power surging within me roiled like an endless ocean, far beyond what a half-step supreme could ever hope to match. I've got Zhanghai's back now. Not even the gods can touch it. That's what I said. When Xiaobai saw that I had successfully broken through, she pounced on me at once, showering me with a barrage of rainbow-fawning words that praised me as even more amazing than a god. After all, when one person attains the Tao, even their chickens and dogs ascend to heaven. She was bound to get plenty of benefits from following me. After a quick tidy-up, I headed to the library again. It wasn't that I was particularly attached to this job. It was just that after spending so much time here, it had started to feel like my base of operations. Sure enough, as soon as I walked in, I found Liu Ruyan waiting for me. After listening carefully to the news she brought, I frowned deeply. It's definitely not that simple. The beast god cult was far more massive than I had imagined. They worshipped the primal beast as their supreme deity, and every monster tide was led by them to slaughter human cities, and the cult was filled with experts of all calibers. That half-step supreme old fart was just one of their many venerables. What's more, they also had genuine Supreme Realm powerhouses in their ranks. After their defeat at Zhanghai this time, their retaliation against Zhanghai and me, the sword god, would undoubtedly be even more brutal. So I can handle most things. But I really can't stand these people blowing themselves up at the drop of a hat. Moreover, the enemy was in the dark while I was in the light. I could only hope this lousy system would cough up some more rewards soon. I promised Liu Ruyan I would pass the message to my master. But seeing her bustling about tirelessly for my sake, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt. Come to my house tonight, your master. No, I have something to talk to you about. I'll be off work soon. You can head over there first. Liu Ruyan lit up like a kid who'd just gotten a huge candy, saying she'd go home to get ready before hurrying out of the library. But I never expected that no sooner had I seen off Liu Ruyan than Li Qingyi showed up. She'd been utterly blown away by the battle at Sword God Valley a couple days prior, and was pestering me nonstop to meet her grandmaster.
It wasn't that I was deliberately giving her a hard time.
She was far sharper than Liu Ruyan. If she caught wind of my little charade, would I ever get a moment's peace again? Seeing I was dead set against it, Li Qingyi pulled a martial arts manual out of her bosom. 4 large characters were emblazoned on the cover. Heaven and earth share the same fate. Something felt off. For some reason, those 4 words seemed oddly familiar. After flipping through it quickly, I sucked in a sharp breath of cold air. It's a self-detonation technique. You little rascal! You really want me dead, huh? But suddenly a thought popped into my head. Can my avatars self-detonate? If they can, that would be the ultimate power move. Totally game-changing. Qingyi, my dear disciple, I won't take this manual for nothing. Here are a few innate realm pills. Take them. I've got some business to attend to. I'll be off now. Realizing she'd been conned, Li Qingyi flew into a rage, shouting curses. You're just taking advantage of an honest person. In the blink of an eye, night fell. Liu Ruyan arrived at my house loaded down with bags of gifts. By this time, I'd transformed myself into the sword god of Zhanghai. The second she laid eyes on me, she dropped to her knees with a thud. Master! I quickly helped her up. Between master and disciple, no need for such formalities. Looking at my getup, Liu Ruyan asked earnestly, Master, why are you still wearing a hat and mask at home? The question caught me off guard. You silly girl, don't ask about things that don't concern you in the mortal world. Then, she presented me with the gifts she'd brought to show her filial piety. Inside the gift boxes were a 1,000-year-old ginseng, a 10,000-year-old snow lotus, and a whole array of other precious medicinal herbs like cordyceps. But the most exquisite gift of all was a golden robe embroidered with crimson dragon patterns. With just a tiny infusion of mental energy, the dragon patterns would come alive and wriggle across the fabric. Wonderful! Wonderful! I truly didn't raise this disciple in vain. After we sat down, Liu Ruyan filled me in on the situation with the beast god cult, warning me repeatedly to be extremely careful. Seeing her sincere concern, how could I hold back? You've already reached the innate realm. It's time you learned a new martial art. I lightly tapped my finger between Liu Ruyan's eyebrows. A vast, overwhelming surge of sword energy erupted forth, and the heaven-severing sword technique was instantly transmitted into her mind. Liu Ruyan froze in place, dumbfounded. A grade earth martial art. Go home and study it well. If you have any questions, just ask your senior brother. Liu Ruyan was over the moon with excitement. She dropped to her knees again with a thud, thanking me profusely for imparting the skill to her. After she left, I stayed home and threw myself into researching Heaven and Earth share the same fate. The more I studied it, the more I realized the principle was actually quite simple. But I was too scared to try it out myself. If I actually blew myself up, I'd become the laughingstock of the entire martial world. With that thought, I summoned a blood god avatar. I suppressed its strength to just 1/20th of my main body's power. Next, I didn't even dare to mutter the incantation out loud. I could only transmit the formula to the avatar through our mental link. In an instant, the avatar's body turned bright red, and golden light radiated from its mouth and nose. Lucky for me, I'd set up a barrier beforehand. Otherwise, my villa would have been reduced to rubble. Not only was the self-detonation's power absolutely terrifying, the casting speed was also incredibly fast. Anyone at the same realm who didn't react in time would be blown to smithereens on the spot. Qinghe, my dear Qinghe, you've truly given your master an incredible treasure. As the days passed, one by one, the time left for Zhanghai City was running out. Until one gloomy afternoon, a faint ripple touched my mental domain. I snapped my eyes open. In the distance, a tsunami-like horde of exotic beasts was surging toward the city's defensive lines. The urgent evacuation bell began to ring. In an instant, people were reminded of the terror they'd suffered at the hands of the exotic beasts 20 years ago. The beast tide had begun. At that moment, all the powerful warriors stationed in Zhanghai gathered atop the city walls. There were fully armed new generation armed police, the martial arts academy led by Elder Li, and a host of new generation martial artists who'd volunteered to fight and lay down their lives for Zhanghai. Some were wanderers from far away, returning home from thousands of miles away. Some had come from the martial arts underworld, yet they'd all stepped up to the plate in this time of crisis. Billowing smoke rose from the direction of the Dali Mountains. A black tide of beasts advanced rapidly toward the city walls. The charge of tens of thousands of star beasts rumbled like thunder, sending tremors through the very earth. We will die here today, passing on our legacy to the next generation of survivors. Only in this way can we resist this cruel world. Roar with anger, heroes. Roar with fury, heroes. Fight with all your might, heroes. With the police chief's heart-wrenching battle cry, the defense of Zhanghai officially began. At that moment, I stood on my balcony, spreading my mental energy to its absolute limit, scanning the situation at the city gates. Xiaobai knew clearly that their chances of holding off the beast tide were slim to none. Master, aren't you going to make a move? Within my mental domain, the auras of the beast horde were violent and chaotic, but hidden among them was an aura that even I feared greatly. It's not time yet. I need an opportunity to strike and kill with one blow. On top of the city walls, hundreds of heat-seeking missiles were launched simultaneously. Flames exploded, mowing down swathes of exotic beasts in an instant. But unfortunately, there were just too many of them. They charged forward through the artillery fire, trampling over the corpses of their fallen kin without hesitation. The distance between the black tide and the city walls grew shorter and shorter. Artillery battalion, prepare for 4 more rounds of thermal cleansing. Flames instantly lit up the sky outside the city walls. A gap appeared in the beast tide, but it was quickly filled by more exotic beasts. Only the weaker beasts would be killed by the artillery fire. The stronger ones were already capable of shrugging off the damage. As for the king-level star beasts, they could even withstand the attacks head-on with their physical bodies. They marched through the smoke and gunpowder, closing in on Zhanghai's defensive line step by step. Even some small, agile beasts had already charged up to the city protection formation. Everyone prepare for close combat! Li Daoming and Elder Li channeled their mental energy at the same time, infusing their sharp sword energy into the city defense formation. The sword auras reaped the lives of the exotic beasts like cutting through lotus roots. A bloodbath erupted beneath the city walls in an instant. But for the vast beast army, this was far from enough. More powerful star beasts swarmed forward, charging through the range of the sword auras. With their battered and bruised bodies, they slammed their heads and claws against the city walls like madmen. The new generation martial artists on the city walls unleashed every trick in the book, continuously slaying any star beasts that slipped through the cracks. This doomsday-like siege battle raged on from dusk until midnight. People were injured one after another, but more reinforcements rushed up to take their places. The bodies of star beasts piled up on the plains outside the city, forming mountains of corpses, and rivers of blood flowed everywhere. It was like a living hell on earth. Suddenly, a series of deafening roars echoed across the plains. Several mountain-sized, king-level star beasts came charging over, slamming into the city protection formation with a resounding crash. The ground shook and the mountains trembled. The hum of the formation sounded like a death rattle. As the core of the formation, Li Daoming's brows furrowed tightly. These king-level star beasts had incredibly strong defenses. Even if he joined forces with Elder Li, they couldn't break through their defenses. If things kept going like this, the formation would be breached after just a few more charges. At this critical moment, the police chief pulled out a black box, aiming it directly at the giant beast's head in the blink of an eye. Storming pear blossom needles. After I'd developed this weapon, I'd anonymously sent a large batch to the police department. This was the reason I was so calm and confident. A shower of silver needles shot out instantly, piercing straight through the giant beast's skull. The mountain-sized body collapsed to the ground, crushing countless exotic beasts beneath it. Elder Li stared in stunned silence. One strike to kill a king-level star beast. This power is simply terrifying beyond belief. After one of their companions died, the ferocious gazes of the other giant beasts locked onto the captain in an instant. Lead this bunch of beasts well. All of you, come here. The leader's voice trembled. Dash to the southeast corner of the city wall along the practiced route. A few breaths later, a terrifying pressure swept over. The enraged giant beast reached out to tear the leader to shreds. In the next second, the ambushing officers appeared out of nowhere. Each of them held a black box in hand. Fire! After a roar, silver needles streaked across the sky like a curtain of rain, piercing through the heads of the king-level giant beasts. One after another, the black mountain-like beasts fell down. The mournful cries of 10,000 beasts echoed across the entire plain. At the same time, on a mountain peak not far away, two black shadows silently watched the commotion on the city wall. These losers can't even climb up the city wall. Go. The person beside him slowly took off his black robe. A pair of wings with blade-like feathers spread open. The wings flapped. Rising straight up into the sky, it was impossible to tell whether it was a human or a beast. The people on the city wall cheered and celebrated. The king-level star beasts are dead. The remaining ordinary star beasts are nothing to fear. Old Li and Li Daoming exchanged a glance, snickered. We make quite a good team. Meanwhile, the leader stood on the top of the wall, gazing into the distance. For some reason, the sense of danger in his heart never faded. Suddenly, at the junction of the plain and the forest, a shadow in the shape of a bird appeared, charging straight toward the city defense line. In the next second, a voice boomed over the city wall. Engage the enemy to the northwest. All units on high alert. The half-human, half-beast bird-like figure arrived in the blink of an eye. The aura it exuded warned everyone constantly. A king-level star beast. With its appearance, the originally collapsing beast tide regrouped, continuing to launch a frantic charge at the city wall. After gathering its strength, the bird-like figure slammed its wings downward. The blade-sharp feathers struck the city protection formation like shooting stars. Cracks immediately covered the surface of the formation. At this critical moment, a sharp sword light illuminated the sky. Sword opens the heavenly gate. Liu Ruyan, dressed in white and holding a sword, charged out. The police captain and Li Qinghe followed closely behind her. The three of them instantly engaged the bird-like figure in battle. The situation below the city wall was also grim. The formation, having taken heavy damage, was on the verge of collapsing. Bad news kept pouring in. There's a breach at the north corner. New beasts are attacking from the northwest above. At this moment, the formation defense unit, only Li Daoming was left struggling to hold the line. If he falls too, what awaits them is the collapse of the formation, the fall of the city, and destruction. Suddenly, his pupils constricted sharply. Witnessing a heroic and unforgettable scene, several new martial artists jumped off the city wall simultaneously, using their flesh and blood to lure the new beasts away from the city protection formation. To relieve the pressure on the formation, even though they were quickly torn to pieces by the beast horde, the next group immediately took their place, fearless of death. Who would have thought the Jianghai defense battle would be this brutal? However, something even more despairing happened. The strength of this yellow-level star beast was comparable to that of a late-stage grandmaster. The three figures in the sky were sent flying and crashed into the city wall. Liu Ruyan and Li Qinghe were covered in blood, seriously injured. The police captain even had one of his arms torn off brutally. At this moment, more than half of Jianghai's defensive forces were lost. Everyone froze in place. The only thing on their faces was despair. One of the martial artists suddenly knelt down, tears streaming down his face. Sword God, please save us. Thud, more new martial artists knelt down one after another, as if praying to their own god. Even old Lee tiredly closed his eyes. The bird-like figure in the sky felt no mercy at the sight. A bloody massacre was about to begin. Just as it was about to flap its wings, a wisp of purple light suddenly flickered in the corner of its eye. The purple energy pierced through its forehead in an instant, sending a surging force into its body along with it. Bang! The bird-like figure exploded into a shower of blood all over the sky. So you finally made a move ahead of time. Almost simultaneously, a terrifying voice rang out. Finally managed to lure you out. Sword God of Zhonghai. Ding! The long-awaited system voice sounded. Detected a respected powerhouse? If you don't want to die, run fast. A black figure, shrouded in black mist from head to toe, appeared in the sky in the blink of an eye. That intimidating aura I felt earlier came exactly from this person. I didn't hesitate for a moment, shooting straight up into the 9 heavens. The venerable of the beast god cult followed closely behind. Hand over your soul mark. Join the cult. And I may spare your life. I suddenly spun around. Heaven-severing sword drawing technique. The purple star divine sword was unsheathed in an instant. I had intended to catch him off guard. But this fierce sword energy that contained the power of the Tao was actually caught by the black shadow with one hand. He squeezed with his 5 fingers. The sword energy exploded with a bang. When I looked at him again, a blood-colored ancient bell appeared behind him. Blood energy surged forth, drawing in the dense laws of heaven and earth. My heart skipped a beat. The Supreme Realm also has its own hierarchy. After entering the initial Supreme Realm, there are also the Earth Supreme and Heavenly Supreme Realms above it. This man in black robe, at the very least, he's at the Earth Supreme Realm. If you haven't cultivated to my level, you're like a frog at the bottom of a well looking up at the bright moon. If you had cultivated to my level and then seen me, you'd be like a grain of dust gazing up at the vast sky. In the next second, the Venerable waved his hand and struck the ancient bell. The eerie bell toll made hearts convulse violently. The blood in my whole body boiled, wanting to rush out of my body. I endured the pain with great effort, quickly forming seals with my hands. The Big Dipper stars connected with each other. A star array immediately appeared above the Venerable's head. Kill him for me. But the Venerable waved his hand, activating the law of blood. A blood-colored glow shot upward, shattering the sky dome. Suppressing the celestial phenomenon directly, the celestial light shattered completely. I hadn't even recovered from the shock. When the Venerable appeared before me in the blink of an eye, he threw a palm strike at me, sending me flying backward instantly. High up in the sky, purple and red auras intertwined continuously. Even if I wielded the purple star divine sword to its full potential, I still couldn't withstand his attacks. A few breaths later, I was already seriously injured. Our strengths are probably at a 3-7 split. I can only hold on for 3.5 minutes, watching him grow more and more arrogant. I knew the opportunity had come. I sheathed my sword, unleashing the heaven-severing sword-drawing technique once again. Only this time I charged toward the Venerable along with the sword light. As he waved his hand to dispel the sword light, my voice rang out beside his ear. I wish you eternal life. In the next second, my eyes erupted with light as bright as a melting sun. Madness. Fear spread through the Venerable's heart in an instant. A Supreme Realm cultivator self-detonating up close. Even he couldn't withstand it. Huff, as one with heaven and earth, activating void collapse, pouring all my spiritual power into the Venerable's body. It was like a sun exploding in the night sky. The aftershock swept across the sky. Even Zhonghai City, 10,000 meters below, couldn't escape the impact. The doomsday-like heatwave raged on for who knew how long. Most of the massive beast tide turned to charred bones. The city protection formation, after protecting the people for the last time, shattered completely. But no one cared about that anymore. Ash filled the sky and drifted down. People never saw the shadow of their sword god again. Old Lee sensed the aura in the sky, seeming to have aged several years in an instant. His spiritual power completely drained. Sword God sacrificed himself to take down that evil cult fiend. Liu Ruyan dropped to her knees, eyes glazed over. She couldn't accept this harsh truth. Li Qinghe burst into tears. I finally got to meet Grandmaster, but this one strike meant forever farewell. May Sword God live on through eternity. At the same time, in Zhanghai's Villa District, amazing master, Never thought you had this trick up your sleeve. That's right. The one who self-detonated was just my avatar. Though this avatar inherited 90% of my power, its self-destruction will leave me weakened for quite a while. But in the end, we won. Lee King-hee deserves all the credit for this win. Suddenly, I frowned deeply, remembering something crucial. System, are you dead? System, where's my reward? The system's panicked voice echoed. Unbelievable! Host managed to seriously injure an Emperor Supreme Realm powerhouse just by using an avatar. You've got to be kidding me. Congratulations, Host. You've obtained the Emperor-grade divine weapon, Sun-Shooting Bow. A wave of satisfaction washed over me. Finally hit the jackpot. But as I thought back to what the system said, I suddenly realized a catch. Seriously injured, not killed. Meanwhile, the city defense army was cleaning up the battlefield. In a desolate corner, a streak of black blood oozed out from underground, instantly seizing control of a young martial artist's body. Lucky I kept a backup plan. Once I recover, no one in this city will be spared. Sensing the ominous bloody aura, Li Daoming and the others rushed over at once. Their faces drained of color. Unbelievable. Even Sword God's self-detonation couldn't take this demon down. A wounded beast is still more dangerous than a horse. With a flick of his hand, the group collapsed to the ground, sprawled haphazardly. Just as they were about to meet their end, a beam of dazzling sunlight tore through the sky, shooting straight and true into the venerable's forehead. The terrifying heat incinerated him completely. Not even ashes remained. The group was petrified with fear. What was that? Could it be the sword god of Jianghai? Ding! The system's voice rang out again. Holy crap! Host actually hunted down an Earth Supreme Realm powerhouse twice. Damn, you're ruthless as hell. Congratulations, Host, you've obtained the Heart of the Tao. Whoa, another jackpot win? Score! This sun-shooting bow is incredible. It contains both the law of fire and the law of space. Even when I was extremely weakened just now, I could still fire an arrow with earth-shaking power. If I can fully master it, I'll be totally unstoppable. And this Heart of the Tao is also an amazing treasure. It can condense the power of the Tao, providing immense assistance for cultivation in the Supreme Realm. Don't be reckless. Steady cultivation is the way to go. As night fell, sky lanterns floated up into Jianghai's night sky one after another. Every household set up memorial tablets in memory of the sword god of Jianghai. Actually, for me, being dead isn't so bad. With me gone, the feud with the beast god cult would come to an end. For both Jianghai and myself, it would save a lot of trouble. After the beast tide incident, Liu Ruyan retreated into seclusion. Losing her master dealt a huge blow to her. She swore to wipe out the entire beast god cult to avenge her master, truly worthy of being the future empress. As for Li Qinghe, she was much smarter than Liu Ruyan. She came to her senses. The more she thought about it, the fishier things seemed. Could everything really be just a coincidence? The next day at the library, Li Qinghe was already there waiting for me. Grandmaster isn't dead. The one who died with the fiend was just an avatar, wasn't it? Shit! How did she figure that out? Then she laid out her reasoning. When the beast tide hit, Master was in danger. Yet you didn't even show your face. Right after she taught you the as one with heaven and earth technique, the sword god self-detonated. And after Master died, you didn't look sad at all. In fact, you even had the mood to come to work. All these signs point to one thing. The sword god isn't dead at all. Her whole line of reasoning left me dumbfounded. Seeing I couldn't weasel my way out of it, I sighed and conceded. You're actually pretty sharp. To keep her quiet, I gave her a mini version of the Big Dipper star array, fibbing that it was a gift from her grandmaster. She was over the moon with joy, pounding her chest and promising me she'd never breathe a word of this to anyone. In the days that followed, I stayed inside the Enlightenment space, studying the sun-shooting bow, as well as the laws of fire and space, growing more and more proficient with each passing day. After drawing the bow over 1,000 times, a thin layer of sword energy began to swirl around the bow. Unfortunately, as I kept channeling sword energy into it, I drew the bow with all my might. The arrow seemed to transform into an unsheathed divine sword. I released the arrow. Heaven and earth fell silent. It even shot a twisted black hole into the sky. Whoa, a low-grade divine weapon is truly in a league of its own. Let's call this move Arrow Shatters the Heavenly Gate. I thought I'd be able to cultivate in secret, then amaze everyone with my power someday. But the arrival of an unexpected guest dragged me into a whole new mess. That afternoon, a middle-aged man walked out of Jianghai Airport, his long white hair flowing. exuding an extraordinary aura. But what drew the most attention was the giant bow slung across his back. It was none other than Liu Wushuang, the sword god supreme of the Supreme Alliance. The Supreme Alliance was the most powerful force in the imperial capital. Originally, they had signed a blood pact with the beast god cult, agreeing to leave each other in peace. But a few days ago, the beast god cult's Vermilion Bird Emperor Supreme was killed by a mysterious arrow in Shanghai. There was only one person in the whole world who wielded a bow with such power, so the blame was naturally pinned on Liu Wushuang. Liu Wushuang's arrival caused a huge stir in Shanghai. The local officials scrambled to greet him, but Liu Wushuang ignored them completely. He had only one purpose in coming to Shanghai: find the sword god of Shanghai. I stared at the overwhelming news on my phone, scorn filling my heart. He was nowhere to be seen during the Beast Tide crisis. But now that his reputation's on the line, he comes running over right away. Suddenly, a system notification popped up. Ding! Detected an Emperor Supreme Realm powerhouse approaching you. You'd better run while you still can. My eyes lit up instantly. This guy's gonna live for another 500 years too? A wicked grin spread across my face. All sorts of schemes to trigger reward events popped into my head. Right then, a formidable aura swept into my spiritual consciousness. Speak of the devil. A tiny place like Shanghai actually has two Supreme Realm powerhouses. Anyone with half a brain could tell they must know each other. As the Sword God's senior disciple, I was definitely going to be his prime target. Liu Wushuang appeared above the villa district. Speak. What's the relationship between your master and the Sword God of Shanghai? After hearing his explanation, I roughly understood what was going on. This guy's such a patsy. Though Liu Wushuang didn't seem to have any ill intentions. First, he wanted to clear his name. Second, he was genuinely interested in this fellow powerhouse. Just wait till I blow your mind. The sword god of Shanghai you're looking for is my martial uncle. As soon as the words left my mouth, they piqued his intense curiosity. Tell your martial uncle, I, Liu Wushuang, challenge him to a duel at Lishui Lake in 3 days.